the elderly get to vote for elderly issues, right?
Now, let's talk, some people say that they'd like to see more of a focused curriculum. Like if kids are interested in tech or engineering, then that's what we'll do, and we don't have to focus on these other liberal arts issues as much. What do you think about something like that?
Partly I believe it because I look at society. You started out by talking about, well, society needs education. That's sort of the future for us. But you don't need everyone to grow up and become a math whiz that could be the great discoverer of the next, small molecular particle. You only need a few people in various categories to make our society function very well. So not everybody has to be the math genius, not everybody has to be the great writer, not everybody has to be the great, politician. So why are we all taught the same things? Well, I think we're all taught the same things because we're taught what those before us, the teachers learned, and they know how to teach what they know.
And they're not thinking outside the box.
I'm thinking K-12. I'm thinking younger kids. This is the same thought doesn't apply the same way in college. Yeah, well, they can't think outside of the box. They're very restricted by rules, strict rules as to what they have to get taught day by day by day. What schedule? The presentation is very fixed. Everybody hears the same words, the same material at the same time. And there's almost no way around that system. You have one teacher when you're in elementary school, right. And you take a test, and then your grade, some people get A's and some people get D's. By third grade, some of the kids, you can tell they've dropped out of school forever, and they stay low, they stay low, they stay low. Fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, from then on the rest of their life. But I have a solution. I have a solution.
Oh, then hold the solution for a moment. When we come back, we're going to hear his solution, and also we're going to hear about robotics, parenting, and ditching the virtual life for a real life. This man has a real life.
I like to talk to young people because I see all young people like Steve and I, when we were young, thinking these dreams of starting Apple and doing things, and how important that is in your life as a driving force, and how incredible a time it is. So I always like to spend extra time with those people that are maybe writing programs for an iPhone or, excited about some new technology.
Welcome back. We're talking to Steve Wozniak. Inspiration. You're very into inspiring people and being accessible. First, tell me about the solution that you have.
Well, not to losing these kids, kind of saying education is not very important to me by third grade. It's partly because of the competition. They haven't done as well as others, so I'm just not going to try to compete with people that I can never beat. But, solutions, obviously if you have good parental, involvement, and you have even homeschooling, that's obviously the kids turn out better. Any teacher that cares can never fail one-on-one with any student. But turns out that I think it's more important if we taught the first few years of school, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, instead of teaching subjects, how to start learning how to write well and do arithmetic well, just get them to enjoy getting the experience of having learned anything and then getting to talk about it and put it into ways that makes them enjoy learning.
So more of an inspirational type program.
Yes, and maybe by second or third grade, start actually teaching them try to get some order in subjects. Another solution is someday maybe computers will be good enough that you can have a computer per student. And the computers will go with the student and the subjects they like and the order they want to go. And the students will all sit around their age group of friends. They won't have to leave their friends and go up a grade or down a grade. One might be very advanced in math. One might be advanced in all subjects. One might be holding back a little in English. But they can all be in the same room, going at different rates, different speeds. And the computer will pass them once they all have A's.
Okay, you have big ideas. It's so exciting. Tell me a little bit about FIRST Robotics. I know you're very passionate about that as well.
Yes, FIRST Robotics was started by the inventor of the Segway, Dean Kamen, and got some incredible people, some of my favorite people in the world for how they think and how much they care about young people's minds, and especially about creativity and going through school and not being taught just, methods and formulas for doing things, but being taught to think for themselves and ask the questions and come up with solutions on their own. And they started this thing, FIRST Robotics, high school teams get assigned to build a robot. They start with some blank parts. They start with roughly the same parts, and then they add a bunch of their own. They do work and build a human-sized robot that goes and plays a game. We change the game every year, so it's a different game. It might be moving balls one time and buckets another time and baskets, and very, very clever games. So these kids get together as a team. They have to organize like a new company and entrepreneurship. They've got to have different people responsible for different things. They've got to go out and do fundraising. They got to find sponsors, companies. They got to get engineers that will help them with some of the engineering work. And I just care so much. You've run into situations where gang members on the big day of a match came in late because they went and got their tattoos erased. They'd had such a change in life. I ran into, I was judging. I like to judge because I don't watch the events. I don't watch the robots. I go back in the pits. The judges go in the pits, talk to the student teams. You get to interact directly with high schoolers that are in that development phase, that are learning to build these things that can actually help mankind in the end.
What drives you to be so accessible to people? I mean, a lot of people in your position wouldn't be so hands-on, but you want to be in the trenches with the kids, with the people.
Yeah, I'm not driven. Lifelong philosophies. I came up with my guides when I was, my keys to life when I was 20, you might say. A lot of very, very good principles, but I don't try to expound them to other people. I think your own keys to success, your own keys to happiness in the world are your own. You have to come up with them yourself. So I came up, and one of them is being very accessible. And being very giving, and not being one of these people that you can't reach me and all that stuff.
And you know, the other thing, too, I think that people remark about you all the time is, you know, the normal vision of a computer whiz like you is a person that's just sitting on their computer all the time. But that's not you. You are living life. You're out there. You're so buoyant and going everywhere.
The computer is the pain of my life. Email, there's so much. When you're accessible, you wind up with everybody in the world can get to you, and you can't answer the amount there is. So you can't really do everything you want.
Or
extremely.
Yes?
I always have the latest gadgets.
What's your favorite gadget right now?
Well, it's the latest one. And it's a non-Apple product, but it's a gadget that just came out yesterday.
Oh, I get it. I know exactly what we're talking about. So were you an involved parent in your kids' education?
Yes and no. I think every parent would say, wow, I was involved. I did all these things. I went to all their sports events. I went to the school meetings. I helped them with their homework. I read to them in bed at night. But I think every parent will also say, gosh, I had hours at work and I had so much time I got involved in important things, and I wished I could go back and make up more time with them. I also had philosophies that I didn't want to ever become too close. I felt strange about that, but I did become extremely close with my first kid. The closeness is measured in different ways: number of hours or amount of deepness of the connection. And my first kid, I did a lot of incredible things. I would just tell him stories about the world. I'd make up stories out of my own head, and he loved learning stories. And I would read, when I read to him, I always went into different voices for the different characters. And if I came back 5 years later and sort of tried to read something out of the same book, he'd say, that's not the voice so-and-so Caspian had, you know? And I would, so it was a very, very close experience. And we had
did you stress
flying
creativity
tours. Yes.
over like the basics of school? But what was your philosophy in education?
My first child, and I sort of didn't opt to do this for the other ones. It was very difficult. I did stress creativity by telling science fiction stories. Wow, a bird goes up and up and up when it gets 1 year old, and that's an exciting story if you do it right. Like maybe they came from another world, you know. Get them thinking. And then all the stories I made up usually had kids. The kids were all in secret groups, and they were going into mines under the earth and discovering some Martians and trying to get the adults and the parents to believe them, and they never could, and they'd always have to find one good guy that would help them and solve them.
That would be you.
No.
You're the hero of the story.
No, I was never the hero of my own stories. But I did want to. I did want the kids. I do like it. Every kid in the world, I want to think creatively. I think creative thinking goes a lot, though, with what a lot of people would call misbehavior. A little bit outside the bounds of acting like everyone else. You know, and you go into a classroom. No, you can't open that drawer. We're not doing that today. You get told a lot of different ways. You can't, if you have an idea, you have to stop and hold back and not go there. So we actually fight creativity a lot in the school system. And, you know, we have to, as a teacher has 30 students, you know, you can't let them all be doing random things. It's unfortunate. But at home, you can certainly enforce creativity. I did it not only in the thinking, I also came up with the flying tour. You know, when my boy was just so young, he couldn't get anywhere. Somebody told me, you can hold a baby upside down or on their stomach. If they're on their stomach, they're seeing the world the way we do, the perspective we have. So I did that. And then I sort of saw his head go one direction. So I took him over.